So this story will either inspire you or terrify you, possibly both. Now picture this, a teenager with a borrowed bucket knocking on doors asking to wash cars for beer money. Fast forward 4 decades and that same kid has advised everyone from Disney to Cartier, launched the UK's first search engine marketing company, and somehow convinced a German manufacturer to extend credit for 50,000 keyboards when he had orders for exactly 5. I'm David White, and if you're wondering how the hell that's all possible, more importantly, how you can stop making the expensive mistakes that sink most startups, stick around, because what I'm about to share isn't theory. This is a real-world experience from someone who's been building businesses since before the internet existed. So the first one is really my borrowed bucket lesson. My entrepreneurial education began with manual labor and teenage desperation. Every Saturday, my mate and I would prowl the neighborhood with cleaning supplies, borrowed, naturally, knocking on doors with the confidence that only teenagers have. And most people said no. Some were even quite rude about it. But here's what changed everything. There were those that said yes, and they weren't actually interested in buying clean cars. They were buying the story. A couple of industrious kids working weekends, that's worth supporting. And within weeks, we had regulars, people waiting for us to show up, recommending us to neighbours, tipping us extra, just because they liked what we represented. Working kids. And that borrowed bucket taught me the first rule of business, and I want you to write this down. Customers buy stories, not products. They didn't really want a clean car, that was a byproduct. What they wanted was to feel good about supporting young entrepreneurs. They don't want software, they want to feel smart and efficient. They don't want consulting, they want to feel confident about their decisions. Remember that, because it'll save you years of confusion. It wasn't all plain sailing. Let me tell you about my most spectacularly naive business venture. Fresh out of my electronics radar apprenticeship, I was actually a certified a rocket scientist. And by the way, I really did work on radar missile guidance systems. And barely 21, I convinced myself I could revolutionize computer keyboards. The Sinclair ZX Spectrum had this horrible rubber keyboard that everyone hated, and I was going to fix it. Did I have any money? No. Business experience? Absolutely not. A clue about international manufacturing? You're having a laugh. But I had something more dangerous than capital. I had unshakable confidence and complete ignorance of how badly things could go wrong. I found a German manufacturer. A minimum order, 50,000 keyboards. My confirmed orders, 5. My mum nearly had a breakdown. They'll throw you in prison, she screamed. She really did. I thought she was right. And looking back, prison might have been more comfortable than the next 2 years of stress that followed. But when the first batch arrived, they didn't work. I spent 2 weeks without sleep, fixing them by hand, myself. Because when you're young, stupid, and desperate, you find reserves of energy that would kill you later in life. And at the last minute, I made them work. And here's the beautiful madness. The keyboards themselves were gorgeous. Customers worshipped them on site. They became evangelists, spreading the word faster than any marketing campaign could. And by the time I sold the last one 2 years later, I'd learned more about business than any MBA could teach. The lesson, passion covers a multitude of sins. When you genuinely obsess over solving problems for people, they notice and they talk about it. So right, here's what most business advice gets catastrophically wrong. It starts with you instead of them. Find your passion, they say. Follow your dreams. Bollocks. Start with their nightmares. Every successful venture I've launched began with the same question. What keeps these people awake at 3 a.m.? For Lloyds Bank Factoring Services, cash flow anxiety. For Ernst & Young's Entrepreneur of the Year Awards, the isolation of leadership. For my search engine optimization clients, the terror of being invisible in their markets. You see, when you've solved sleep-disrupting problems, price becomes secondary. I've charged £5,000 per month for consulting that probably took me 10 hours to deliver. Why? Because those 10 hours saved clients from months of expensive mistakes. Value isn't about time. It's about outcomes. And the only way to understand what outcomes people actually want is to have conversations with them. Which brings me to my next point. When I was working with design agencies, I developed an 8-page questionnaire for my new client meetings. 8 pages. My colleagues thought I'd lost the plot. You'll bore them to death. That's no way to run a business. But our strike rate for winning new business was amazingly high. Why? Because I was spending 3 hours talking about our prospects' favorite subject, themselves. I was creating bonds that specification sheets never could. Here's what I learned. Asking better questions than your competitors is the fastest way to win the business. When I was selling computer networks in my 20s, I'd show up in a suit and simply ask, how do you handle your computer systems now? 3 questions later, I'd uncovered problems they didn't know they had. Most people are so busy talking about what they sell, they never find out what people actually want to buy. Be different. Ask questions and listen to the answers. And now you can and you'll be able to solve the real problems that you discover that no one else hears about. After nearly 4 decades of building, buying, selling, and occasionally spectacularly failing at business, patterns emerge. The companies that thrive all follow what I call the authority acceleration framework. First, you pick your playground. You can't be everything to everyone, but you can be everything to someone. When I launched Web Optimizer in the 1990s, we didn't try to help every business get found online. We specialized in making competitive companies look like category leaders. By becoming specialists, we could charge premium rates. Second, master the conversation before the sale. I just told you about that questionnaire. Works every time. Third, create ridiculous value up front. Give away your best thinking. When I started writing books, colleagues thought I was mad. Why give away your secrets? Because books become business cards that work 24/7. Clients would show up already convinced. And here's the crucial bit. Get a customer first. Figure out everything else later. Not a user, not a trial, not engagement metrics. A customer, someone who pays you money to solve their problem. Everything else is just expensive preparation. Look, the beautiful truth about business is that none of us really know what we're doing. We're all making educated guesses and hoping for the best. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't intelligence or capital. It's the willingness to start before you're ready and learn while you're doing. My greatest advantages were ignorance and necessity. I didn't know that 21-year-olds weren't supposed to negotiate international manufacturing deals. I didn't know that search engine marketing was too technical. This ignorance was liberating. So here's my challenge to you. Stop waiting for permission. Stop building perfect solutions for imaginary customers. Start having conversations with real people about real problems. And for God's sake, get someone to pay you for solving those problems. If you want weekly insights on building businesses that actually matter, join my newsletter at theauthorityfigure.substack.com. Or if you're wrestling with customer acquisition, scaling issues, or just need someone who's been through this madness to help you find a way around, over or through your current challenge, book a free call at calendly.com. After all, every successful business started with someone brave enough to have a conversation. Let's talk.